So dark circles, I mean, who doesn't have them by the time that they're 60? Should we rock them or should we cover them? I know what I want to do. I definitely want to cover them. So I am always on the lookout for hacks, and kind of troubleshooting the various ups and downs of concealer. I never used concealer till I was about 40, and all of a sudden I needed it. And so the first challenge was just finding the right concealer, the right color, and then finally learning how to apply it. Once I sort of had that down, I started to see that there were lots of problems with my concealer game. And I think a lot of other women struggle with that too. A couple of the problems are that the concealer, there's this thing called shark's tooth, where right along the eye line here, it sort of gaps or something. It looks crazy. And so that's one thing. Another thing is that the concealer will often settle into the fine lines and wrinkles, making them look even worse. And then finally, where do you put it? Do you put it like all over your face, or do you put it in certain spots? We're gonna look at all of those, plus a few of the hacks that have been going around YouTube and TikTok and all over the place. I'm gonna try to keep it concise, but I learned a lot from doing this. And if you're at all curious, I would highly recommend doing this yourself, identifying a few of the hacks or a few of the techniques and trying them out, playing with them, and seeing how they are going to work with you and for you. I learned a lot, and I came up with the very end of the video. I'm going to share my hack with you, what I do, and how I avoid all of those horrible pitfalls. It's so simple. However, let's start with the very first technique slash hack. This was brought through by Kim Kardashian's makeup artist. And they had created this stylized and glowing kind of look for Kim, and women around the world immediately wanted to replicate this technique. It is not super hard, though it does have its pitfalls. When it's done well, it's amazing. When it's done poorly, it's horrible. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the Kim Kardashian triangle. So essentially what you need for this project is your favorite concealer. And this concealer should be a little bit more to the lighter side of your skin. It should be maybe a shade lighter than your skin tone. You will also need some loose setting powder. And finally, you will need a powder brush, and then you will need an applicator brush. Now, a lot of women swear by using a beauty blender and patting, and you'll see makeup artists pat, 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 and do all this. I found that brush works better for me. So let's get started. So what Kim Kardashian's makeup artist did, and I've got my mirror here, so I'm not gonna look at you every minute because I gotta look at my face to get this right. So we're gonna start, and we're just gonna tap some concealer around the eye area, and then we are going to come and make this V. So what it does is it sort of shines this beautiful light on your face. It kind of highlights the cheekbones in a certain way. It is kind of a nice technique. The next piece of it is the setting piece. And this is where you tap in. This is loose powder. And I'm going to grab this soft brush. And then I'm going to press powder using the soft brush, and this was called baking. And you can see that it leaves a really beautiful under eye area. It leaves a very highlighted look to the face, but the technique is not over yet. We've got to make sure that we have a lot of powder here pressed into the skin, looking amazing. So while I pack up the tools to create this fabulous look, and again, it was concealer, just a few shades lighter than your natural skin tone, powder brush, and then your concealer application technique of choice. Now, what the girls did after the baking process was over is that they'd take their brush and brush away any excess powder. And again, it's looking pretty good. But there's just one problem. Very quickly, and I can see it happening now, the powder and product begins to settle into the fine lines and wrinkles underneath your eye, making you look like you're over 100 years old, and I'm only 60. So I don't want to look 20 years older. I don't mind really looking 60, but I don't want to look 100. So this technique, while it is a beautiful technique and you can modify it to make it work for you, this may not be your jam, just saying. Next up, under the other eye, I am going to show you a much more complicated technique. This technique involves color corrector, and it has also, I have two different kinds of color corrector here. I have one that has some brightening properties to it, and then one that is just a complete, you know, kind of a peachy tone. The whole idea with color correctors is that they actually cancel out the color that is under your eye. So one of the things you need to do, or in the dark area, is that you need to analyze your color under there. Oops, like how clumsy. So you want to look into this area and then say, is it to the brown? Is it to the blue? Is it, you know, like, and then you get out your color wheel and you go to the very opposite of the color wheel and you find a makeup that is that color and you then apply it. The idea is that it will cancel out that dark color. And then you're going to need your concealer. And for all of this entire episode, I am using the Born This Way Sculpting Concealer. I actually really like this formula. I've tried a lot of different concealers in my day. This one is a nice one, and there's a lot. You get a lot. So I don't recall how much this cost, but it's been lasting. Okay, moving on. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to now just put my concealer where I have discoloration. And now you can actually end up with kind of that more highlighted look, like the Kardashian look, if you want. That was, you know how I kind of had mentioned a minute ago, you can actually kind of make that work for you if you kind of want to have that kind of a look. But it just would not be so baked, so thick under your eye. Now, this is looking good. I have to say, this is looking good. Now, let's take it up a notch and let's add to it the TikTok technique. Now, on TikTok, everybody is talking about none other than trusty setting spray. You take a little bit of setting spray, you spray it into your hand, you tap your finger into the setting spray, and then you tap it under your eye where your concealer is. And you'll see that it goes on quite wet, and you just keep tapping until it dries. So we have a nice natural look. It dries down, it stays in place, it's good. And like the other Kardashian technique, for some people, this is going to have a problem because there is one ingredient in setting spray, and that is alcohol. And so I found that using this under my eye would be great. I've got beautiful smooth under eye area right now going on, But come the end of the day, again, I was getting cracking. I was looking 100, 110, something like that. I mean, it just wasn't good. So I then went to the next technique, which was from a makeup artist that I have a great deal of respect for, love him, Wayne Goss. He talked about putting a lot of moisturizer under your eye and allowing that moisturizer to soak into the skin. So the skin is hydrated and plumped so that you're not getting a lot of those creases and icky stuff. For me, that posed a bit of a problem because my under eye area is kind of a little bit oily. So what was happening for me when I put too much concealer under, too much moisturizer before the preceding steps is that it was moving away. My concealer was actually kind of soaking into the moisturizer, and it kind of started looking like I didn't have any concealer on at all. It would start to darken back up, and of course, how old did that make me look? Maybe 115. Let me tell you what I tried. I tried just putting primer all up into the under eye area, along with primer all over my face. Just the amount that I would normally use, but I just made sure that I got up into this area. And then I learned an important technique, and that is that you tilt your head down so that all of those little wrinkly spots are a little bit more smoothed out. So when you're applying and your head is sort of tilted downward, you're able to kind of get all that area smooth, so you get a really smooth application. And so I was able to kind of really cut back on the amount of product, so I wasn't getting a cakey look. I was getting enough coverage. The coverage was staying through the day, and it wasn't settling into fine lines and cracks and crevices, and it wasn't making me look to be 100 years old. I was only looking 60, and that's not too bad because I am 60, and I'm kind of okay with that. So what I would suggest that you try is try these hacks and play with them, because you know what? Makeup is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to have fun with it. I mean, I actually kind of do. I actually kind of enjoy turning on YouTube and following some of my favorite makeup artists and then trying their techniques and seeing how they work. And also learning more about the ingredients in the products so that I can kind of figure out what's going on with me and make good choices. And so for me, you know, excess moisturizer was not a good play, but for you it may be, and it also may predicate on the kind of moisturizer you're using. Maybe I just didn't have the right kind. And with regard to the setting lotions or setting sprays, which I like this is actually good, and I wear it in the summertime a lot. When it's hot and humid, this helps my makeup stay in place, but it does kind of have a drying effect to it. And so, you know, knowing how these products work is super helpful so that you can get the best kind of look for you. So play a little bit, you guys. I hope this helped, and I hope that you'll try some of these techniques. And I hope that you'll get the most beautiful makeup look, and you won't look 110, because we don't look that. Not until we're 110. Then we'll celebrate. See you next time.